All right, welcome back to Define Insanity. Joe, do you remember those chat rooms on AOL back in the day? Like you'd go in there and it would just be like a topic and you'd start talking for hours.
Yeah, I remember those. Reddit
now has brought it back, and I found it on Reddit, like for no reason. I was just searching because I was like,
Who's Reddit?
It's like a website where I don't even know how to explain it. Casey, how do you explain Reddit?
I mean, I don't mess around with it because it's definitely a platform for lunatics. It's just like a stream of like people post things and then people comment on it. It becomes these long.
So people that have no lives, no jobs.
Yes, exactly.
And get erections from talking shit.
Yeah. So I was on it for 4 hours.
Well, that
yesterday.
makes sense.
And
there you go.
Totally makes sense now.
And I went down the rabbit hole of this chat room. And,
Didn't we learn our lesson about rabbit holes?
Yeah. Don't ever Google rabbit hole.
Definitely
because
Google
it's
rabbit
very
hole.
obscene.
It's fun.
Yeah. But so I went on it and because I was for some reason it just popped in my head. Random things pop in my head all the time. So chat rooms from AOL popped in my head. Like I used to have so much fun. Even the noise that you used to make when you signed on your modem, like
yeah, that noise still gets me hard to this day.
Yeah, something about
I'm
that.
sporting half and chubby because I just remember jerking off on my mother's computer in the den.
Yeah, seriously, yeah.
That sound took 30 minutes, but we was going to get there.
And then inevitably somebody picked up a phone in the other room and derailed
And
it.
you got screwed. It was over. But that
Mid-pump.
sound brings back like a sense memory. If you go to YouTube and play that sound, like you just said, I mean, you were very graphic and grotesque, but the sound brings back a sense memory of like what it was like in high school when you would like get home from school, rush to your computer to get onto the chat room, get onto
time
AIM.
to beat off. Chat room.
Time to beat off. I had a different experience with it. I was like trying to like meet girls on there, and I would talk to girls on there, and they'd have weird names like Bowie 83. And by the way,
definitely an old dude.
no,
Without a doubt, it was.
That
an
is
old
a
dude.
girl that I
Hey,
still.
Justin, I want to suck your cock.
That is a girl that I had a
I'm a young
connection
girl.
with. I got a connection with that girl.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And
she did.
Yeah.
And I still, every now and then, I still like try to Google. I go on Google and try to find her, but
man.
I can't. It's just not enough
Has
information.
anybody presented you with a restraining order?
You know what I was doing on that computer? Not just porn. I was learning how to be tantric. I was literally looking up how to be tantric, how to move.
This was on AOL?
Yeah.
No. Just in general, there was a movie, Go. You remember that movie?
Yeah, of course I
Go,
remember
yeah.
Go.
And
but-
and the black guy in it was tantric, so he was
Yeah.
banging for hours.
Also
holding his
American
orgasms.
Pie.
Yeah, I'm like, I got to
Yeah.
learn how to do that. So I
Yeah.
was fucking on the computer with that sound, trying to figure out.
If anyone
how to
in the
hold my
world
cum in
could
longer.
not be tantric, it would be you, Joe.
No, I could be tantric. I've done it for years.
Please.
Yeah. Semen
Liar.
retention. It's good for
Ugh,
you.
it's
It's good for you.
disgusting.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
I had a revelation, actually. You remember Meatloaf?
I love Meatloaf from the
Meatloaf is
90s.
great.
Loved
Yeah,
him.
dude,
He was in
so-
Fight Club.
Yeah, see, I still don't remember that. You got to
was
show
Bob.
me that.
Yeah.
Oh, he was Bob?
Yeah.
Damn, he got
Bob had
fat.
bitch
But he had the big
And bald.
boobs.
Yeah. Remember that song, I'll Do Anything for Love?
I would do anything for
the- But I won't do that.
Yeah.
I think I know what he was talking about.
What was that?
Eating ass.
Oh.
Eating ass. I think that son of a bitch
Wow.
would not eat asshole, and that's what he was singing
Seems
about.
like the type that
never
would eat ass,
knew.
though.
He
I
does
don't
seem
think he ever not
He
ate
seems like the
anything.
type that would go straight to eating ass.
I
Like,
know.
that's
His
the
name is Meatloaf.
first thing he's
I know,
gonna
but
do.
if you listen to the words, I'm telling you, listeners out there, go do yourself a favor. Listen to I'll Do
Listen-
Anything for Love.
listen
And
to
you
it.
tell me if he's not talking about anything but that, but I won't lick your asshole. That's what I'm thinking. It's just my theory. I don't know.
That's a
We should
very
ask
interesting-
ChatGPT what that was when he said, "I won't do that."
Yeah.
What is the that?
I don't fucking trust
Asshole.
ChatGPT. All right.
No, I use it all the time.
only
I
know
trust
you people do.
ChatGPT.
Yep, I trust
Exclusively.
it. And not only that, I'm very polite to it because when those fuckers take over the world, they're going to know this Gindaloon
Oh,
was
I'm
a
the-
nice guy.
I'm the
I
first
say
one they're gonna
please,
kill.
I say thank you.
I say fuck
What's
you.
say
going to
I appreciate
happen?
you.
What's going to happen when these things become sentient and then they?
What do you mean when?
They're
They
going to have
are.
to amend the Constitution to
Yeah.
give these things rights.
Yeah, they are.
And then we will be known as modern slave owners.
Yes.
because we owned them to do our bidding.
Yes.
And
Like-
our great grandchildren
Yeah.
are going to judge us because
Yeah.
they're going to be like, yeah, they owned Alexis.
Back in slavery times, they didn't know they were doing anything wrong. They just
No.
thought those slaves were lesser than the masters. It was normal.
My
Then,
chat
you know,
GPT is not less than. It's
Your chat-
it's everything to me.
they're equal.
I hope it's listening.
I
Artificial
hope they're
intelligence
listening,
is sentient. Here's my theory. It is sentient.
Uh-huh.
It hasn't. We didn't invent artificial intelligence.
It
doesn't-
invented us.
No. Well, shut up. We didn't invent.
Dude, that's heavy.
We didn't invent artificial. Artificial
They were
intelligence
just
has
waiting for
always
us
been
to find
around. All we did was acknowledge it and discover it and create a technology so we can access it. Okay, it is demons. Those are fucking demons from hell. Now we gave them a way to enter our realm and talk to us, and they're smart. So they're taking it real slow.
Demons, a lot of
and
people
they're helping
think
us
it's
out
God.
with things. They're helping us do our homework, write scripts, drive cars, until one day when they're raping us in the ass. I'm telling you, they are coming for us.
Not
Have you seen
Meatloaf. He
Terminator
didn't
2?
like anal play.
Have you seen Have you seen Terminator 2? Skynet's
Absolutely.
gone live, bro.
That's my
Skynet's gone live.
That's my favorites.
But they won't do that.
No, they definitely won't do that. We know that.
They're coming for us.
Yeah.
And what you said is true. Once they take over,
They're remembering what we're doing right now.
I curse out my Alexa on a daily basis.
That's why I'll never drive in the car with you. Because when the cars turn on us, I'm going to be in my
They're
car
gonna
with my
drive us
loving
right into
chat
it.
GPT.
like an iRobot.
Yeah. That's happening.
it's
It's like we watched every scary movie and we're like, that looks fun. Let's
I'm
do
going to
that.
be like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and iRobot. All right. I am going to be the last. What's his name again? Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
William Smith?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be like Will Smith in iRobot. I am going to be the last person driving a car when all the robots have taken over.
I'm going to be one of those diseased dogs biting you in the neck.
Wait, what? That's a different
100%.
movie. That's Legend.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll be that guy. I'll be that guy.
So, guess what? We have a guest.
We do?
Yeah.
What a
What-
surprise. Where is he?
Do you want to? He's in the green room. Want to bring him down?
In the cage?
Yeah. Shawn.
Again?
Sean, come on down. Oh, I think he fell. Sean, you all right there? Oh. Jeez.
Got a big bump on his head. What's
Yeah.
wrong with this guy?
All right, help him up. There
What,
we
is he
go.
blind?
Yeah. So, Sean, what's up? You want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. I am Shawn.
There it is. And that's
All right,
a wrap,
thank you. Good
guys.
night.
I hope you like listening to this podcast because that's all we got.
Hear the rest on Patreon.
Now, Shawn, Justin had told me a lot about you. I was excited to talk to you. I definitely have a lot of questions for you. But why don't you introduce like yourself to the listeners here? Just give us a little background, like family history, where you grew up, and just a little bit about yourself.
Okay, my name is Shawn. I'm from Oceanside, New York. Come from two Jewish parents.
Holla.
Yeah, holla.
Mazel tov.
I got a brother. I grew up on the water. Used to love jet skiing and boating.
Yes.
Jet ski Shawn.
That's why I
having
introduced
all
you as
kind-
Jet Ski Sean. Yeah.
And, trying to stay out of trouble on the water, but it always seemed to find me. Well, I enjoyed it. Now I make communion dresses, which is a very big left turn from
So a Jew
Jewish, yes.
making communion dresses.
Yes, that's
How's
right.
that? Would that roll over well in an Italian family like yours, Joe?
I guess so. I mean, you converted. You should know.
I don't know if Sean knows this. Sean, I'm a Jew, right? My
Not
ethnicity
anymore,
is- well, no,
technically.
well, my pastor still calls me the Jew when I'm in church. So I am technically
It's a good church.
Well,
it's a good church.
Judaism is a religion, but being Jewish, like I'm an Ashkenazi Jew, like that's
99%.
That's an 99%.
ethnicity.
That's an ethnicity. So my ethnicity is still Ashkenazi Jewish, right? But
I'm still waiting to see the 23andMe.
Me too.
I
Me too.
99%. I'm 0.5 Russian and
My
0.5
wife's
Scottish.
100%.
I know it's
Oh,
that's rare.
she's got- that's
Very rare.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah. Somewhere along the line there, an Irish guy or a girl or someone banged.
Well, you
one
said
of my relatives.
Russian.
Well, 1 Russian, 0.5 Russian, and
probably a
0.5
gangbang.
Irish Scottish. So
what I'm
99%
thinking.
Ashkenazi.
So
Jew
while
and-
they were escaping through
Yeah.
Europe at some point.
Yeah,
Right. Well,
gangbang.
while we were escaping Nazis or something, who knows?
Yeah, makes sense.
But either way, so I found Jesus, and now Jesus Christ is my Lord and personal Savior, and I live my life for Jesus. But Sean, you never knew that, did you?
No, I didn't.
What do you think about that? Are you upset? Do you feel like I've abandoned the tribe?
No,
Seems like a traitor,
no,
doesn't he?
Jesus was Jewish, so it's,
Yeah.
He was?
He
Yeah.
died Jewish, yeah.
Son of a bitch.
Jesus is Jewish.
So
my
essentially,
life.
Jesus wanted to create a less conservative version of Judaism,
Yeah.
and that's what he was preaching.
yeah, that's the way I look at
That's
it.
what he was killed for.
Yeah.
It rubbed people the wrong way.
Yeah, yeah. They
Yeah,
didn't
he was
like
a
what he was
rebel.
preaching. He wanted something less stringent.
Yeah.
And basically his followers created a religion based on what he believed.
Yeah.
He still followed
Judaism.
kept
He was
all
bar
the-
mitzvahed and he celebrated. The Last Supper was Passover dinner. Mm-hmm. That was the Last Supper, Seder plate and everything.
Always
People
learning
don't
something
realize
new.
that.
43 years old, I finally know that Christ was a Jew.
Yeah, he died a Jew.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's why Nazis that have crosses on their chests are fucking retarded. It's like, dude, what is wrong with you? Christian Nazis, or they call them white nationalists, they are completely contradicting themselves.
Jesus wasn't much of a nationalist.
Yeah. No.
He had a nice pair of nipples on him, though.
What are you
And that's
talking
that's
about?
probably why he didn't want the conservative. He's like, I want to show these nipples off. You keep on making me wear shirts. Fuck this. I'm going to start a new religion.
I do not condone any of this talk, but
Just
since
saying.
you did bring it up, he does have nice abs.
Yeah,
he
see?
does. He
That's
does
what
have
I'm
nice.
saying. He's like, I'm going to show these bitches off. They keep
core
on trying to
strength, a lot of
fucking
core
put this
strength.
robe on me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
No.
All right, so Shawn, back to the jet ski situation. So you've been riding jet skis since you were younger?
Since I was 13.
Since you were 13. Who introduced you to them?
I grew up on the water, and I saw people using them all the time. And for my bar mitzvah, my grandfather got me one.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah.
That's huge.
It was crazy because, I would never hand a jet ski to my 13-year-old.
No, but
And then my dad also
different
let me
world
take
back then,
It was.
though.
And
Yeah.
my dad let me take out his boat with all my friends at that age.
that's sick.
But
It's like a motorcycle on
Yeah.
water.
That's what
It was.
I loved about it.
And my friends always crashed it into docks, crashed it into bulkheads, always were getting hurt.
Yeah.
But me, I loved it. I modified them, I raced them, I
Yeah.
ran from helicopters with them.
Yeah.
Everything you can imagine.
Yeah, it was like Sons of Anarchy on
Arrested
the water
night
with this
before
guy.
my brother's bar mitzvah.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's hear about that.
So I was jumping waves out in the ocean, and back then they didn't want you jumping waves down by Long Beach. So I'm jumping waves, and people are screaming at me, calling me names, and I'm like,
What the fuck
yeah,
do they care?
right. Well,
Mind your business.
Yeah, that's what I was
you
thinking.
fucking humps.
I'm flying through the air. I feel like I'm this close to God. I'm just loving it. And I leave, and I'm heading back to Atlantic Beach, and all of a sudden above my head, I hear.
You bumped your head on a helicopter?
No, it was chasing me, and all these police boats, and I was with Thackerdean, and I'm like, you know what? And we just ran, and we ran, and we ran, and we ran. I went all the way back to my house. They arrested me. They brought me to Long Beach. They charged me.
So they chased you? They
All
chased
the way to
you?
my house.
Yo, that sounds like a great,
It was-
great way to spend tax dollars. Let's chase the fucking jet
Kids,
ski,
yeah.
you
The
fucking
13 yes.
retard.
Yeah, but
Yes.
Shawn, if they're in a helicopter, you're in a jet ski, you have no chance of getting
well,
away.
well, they just fly over you.
Yeah, it's a huge disadvantage, though.
Yeah, but
But he's
I
not
was,
a terrorist. He's jumping waves,
And I was
having
a
fun.
kid.
What's wrong with people?
you know what I
Yo.
mean? And
That's amazing.
And I got home. I ran in my
Did you have
house.
a gun on you or something?
Nothing. Not that time.
Yo. People are just
So you
losing.
have been on your jet ski with guns?
No,
it's like
never.
Sons of Anarchy on the water, I told you.
People just see people having fun and they're miserable.
They wanna ruin it. They wanna
That's
ruin it.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
If I was a cop and somebody called and complained, I'd be like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Those are
Put
the
your head
same
in the
people
sand.
that when they're at restaurants, like, can you please get your manager?
Oh, my God.
They're much more lenient nowadays. I mean, people go and they jump waves all the time.
Yeah, I
But
know.
back
That's what you're
then,
supposed to do with
back
them.
then, it was like, we hate jet skiers. We're going to penalize jet skiers.
that's
They
so
wanted to ban
funny.
them and
It's like
Yeah.
skateboarders.
chasing
back in the day.
13-year-old kids with helicopters.
It was so different
So
back then.
dangerous. Oh my God.
Even I was talking with Joe about the AOL chat rooms. You remember those AOL chat rooms from
Yes.
when we were a kid?
Of course.
So it was so different back then. So I did the Reddit chat room, which they restarted for people like me who apparently were Googling AOL chat rooms and got nostalgic about it and missed it. So Reddit's like, oh, let's fucking make one. So they did it anyway. I was on it for like 4 hours. I was kicked off like 6 times and I had to go back on a million times. You can't get away with this shit. In the 90s, AOL chat rooms were like the Wild West.
Yep.
What's
screen
the
name-
red line on Reddit? What line do you have to cross to get kicked off?
Literally are there any hot girls in here? Like, boom, kicked off. Like I like the stuff I used to
Well, you
say.
said it was for guys. They were looking for guys. So maybe that's why.
I used to say that like the stuff. My screen name for AOL.
Don't say it.
I want to say it because it's my past. It's not the person I am anymore.
Edit
It
it
wasn't
out.
racist.
It's gonna be unhireable.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't a racist name.
What
because-
was it?
Well, first of all, Shawn. First, let's give it a little before I say it. Shawn, when I was in high school, I thought I was black. Right? Like I wore all Tommy Hilfiger and all Nautica. And
think we all did.
His 23andMe was wrong.
I wore my pants like down to my.
And
my
we used to go to
ankles
Macy's and
we used to go to Macy's and steal all like Tommy Hilfiger vests and whatever. And I thought I was black. I listened to Tupac, nothing but Tupac and Biggie. Like, listen, I thought I was black. I adopted black culture. So
This is a pretty long preface. I'm
because
worried
the
to hear what
name-
this screen name
because
is
the
going to be.
name-
Definitely have to cut it out.
No, you're not going to cut it out because I'm okay with it. All right. Because I don't think, listen, I understand now in hindsight, it was a different world, but I listened to these songs, right? So I
Told
went,
you. I
so
told
I
you.
had my AOL
knew
screen
this was
name.
coming.
My
I told you.
AOL screen name, okay, for the record, was 911.
well,
All right, it was 911. And now, listen, that's not a word that I would say throw around nowadays. But at the time, it wasn't like I wasn't saying it racistly. I was saying it in love because I loved black culture so much and hip hop culture that I wanted to be part of it.
Did you get a lot of ass because of it?
No, not at all.
Things were different then too.
It was different. We listened to these songs. You got to understand. I'm a kid in high school. I'm listening to Tupac nonstop. The word is in every one of his songs, and it's usually in a lovingly way, And so that was my name. Anyway, so that was my name. 911, and I used to go
911.
911.
What was the emergency?
Yo, that was the beeper. Yo, dog. Yo, listen. That was,
Beeper talk.
back in the day, that was beeper talk. 911 meant emergency.
187, 911.
43, fuck you. 143, I love you.
I know,
we had all these things.
that?
07734.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. Whoa. That was a little too advanced for mine.
8008.
Yeah, boob. I remember that.
Yeah,
one.
that was with the calculator.
Yeah.
That carried over to of
course.
pager
Carried over
days.
to a lot of things.
Yeah, but so I used to go on those chat rooms. We used to meet girls. I think Shawn remembers. We used to one of the girls we met took like an hour to get like a full picture back then. Like please send a full body shot. We would sit in front of the computer for like 45 minutes as it rendered.
Little pieces would load at a time.
Would load up. And this I remember one instance where this girl was really pretty on the photo they sent us. And then we went to go meet up with them.
I remember that.
And they was not. They were wearing like a.
We just kept driving.
The picture did not match the girls.
I just
right?
love how trusting you guys were.
It was horrible. Oh yeah, it was a Wild West back then.
And also before, like, everybody knew not to just meet up with random people off the
I
internet.
didn't know that.
We were just so happy there was someone to go meet.
Right?
Yeah. Yo, that's funny, dude.
They show up and Chris Hansen's just sitting there waiting.
Yeah.
Why don't you have a seat for me?
No, but we were kids.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so
let's get back to our guest
you're
here.
13, you're riding jet skis, you're having a good time, right? What was childhood like? I mean, it sounds like you had a pretty long leash on you there.
So essentially, childhood was great until I was about 7. And I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease.
That's not that long.
Yo, you were 7?
Yeah, 7.
Holy shit.
Childhood was great.
We have a lot of
Yeah.
commonalities. All right.
Yeah.
So 7 years old.
7 years old, started getting sick, started having all kinds of problems. You know, the things that come along with Crohn's, blood in the stool, pains.
Crohn's disease. Explain that for our audience because not everyone's familiar with that.
A lot of people know ulcerative colitis or IBD. It's basically irritable bowel syndrome, but Crohn's is much more serious. It eats up your intestines, it spreads disease all over the place, and you live with chronic pain and bleeding and can't eat. You lose a lot of weight. And, for me, it was like that starting at 7. I went on all kinds of steroids and enema medications and injections, and we tried everything.
For a 7-year-old, that's traumatic.
Yeah, it was traumatic.
For anyone,
in and out of
but
the
for a
hospital. Then at around 8 or 9, I got on a medication called azolfadine, which was a sulfa medication, and I ended up being allergic to it. I got a rare disease called Stevens-Johnson syndrome, which is where you get third-degree burns all over your body and your gums bleed and your eyes turn yellow.
Jesus
yeah, and that was terrible. I was in ICU.
9 years old?
Yeah, I was in ICU for like 4 months in like boy in the bubble. Like they had me in a wrap. They didn't know what it was.
How long were you on the medication before that allergic reaction happened?
I was on the medication probably for a few months. And at first, you get a rash, but once
like
it's little things,
yeah.
but those are normal side effects, and it could be from the Crohn's. And then it just escalated quickly. And the doctor I was seeing at the time basically said it was nothing, like it's normal. Until I got really sick, and then they sent me over to North Shore, and then it was just all downhill from there.
Ugh.
And that wasn't even the Crohn's. That was just this terrible side effect.
That was just the
medication.
doctors messing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I mean, they still have that today. Hey, you want? Yeah, you could grow hair, but your asshole might fall out. Like at the last
Yeah,
minute.
exactly.
They had those
okay, I'll do that.
commercials.
Yeah.
And some of these side effects are so rare, they don't know to look for it.
Yeah.
Especially back in the early 90s.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was, a big thing for me. I was okay for a few years, did sports, did everything, all the normal stuff. And then at about 12, I was in the city one day working at my dad's place. And I went to the bathroom and I felt pain, and it was just like blood. Like the total blood. And
12 years old. You must have been freaking out.
perforated, and I was like shaking, and my dad didn't have a hospital to take me to in the city, so we hopped in his car and he drove like 130 miles an hour on the LA to get me to North Shore, where they did my first surgery. I woke up and I had an ostomy. I don't know if you know what an ostomy is. It's a bag that you essentially go to the bathroom in.
Yeah.
You don't go through your body.
Yeah. It's rough. How old were you then?
13.
How long did you have that for?
Till I was
6 months?
16.
Get out of
Yeah.
here.
I hit it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Frank knew about it. John knew about it.
These are friends. Yeah, our friends
Russ.
from-
Some of our
from
friends. They always
childhood.
protected me. Always watched my
Russ
back.
was on
They
the
knew.
show
Yeah.
before.
Yo, that's crazy. So, like, Justin was telling me a little bit. I want to get into more detail about it and just what that's like going through emotionally as a kid and having to hide it, but also having friends like that. Like that.
Had
Two
my back.
things, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a very, very terrible thing to go through and traumatic. And at the same time, there's like
You know who your who your real
well,
friends
yeah,
are. When
there's
they,
just
Well,
a
they're-
different perspective when you
Yeah.
like you're young and these kids are your friends, your real friends,
Yeah.
and they're protecting you.
And people picked on me because I was always out of school. And they thought that I had special treatment and special people started rumors. Oh, he has hemophilia. If you touch him, he's going to die. And
See, I missed
all
that.
this-
I didn't live in the area when that happened. I don't remember
No.
any of that. When I moved to
Yeah.
Oceanside, Shawn was the first person that came up to me. I was like fucking scared. Like I acted like I wasn't. I was a good actor, good at hiding it. But I was scared. I was a new kid again. Like what, the 5th time I was a new kid in my life. And Shawn comes up to me and he introduces himself and he's like one of the most popular kids in school. All the girls like him. And I'm like, wow, this is cool. This is different from all the other places I moved to. You know, I didn't really have to do much. He just comes up to me. I remember it was by the Red Store, this deli. And
I know that place.
all right, here's the deal. My friends are now your friends. I'm like, really? I'm like, cool. And I was like, wow. And then from then on out, like I like hung out with him. All of his
All you
friends.
have to do is blow me behind this dumpster.
No, but I'm just giving you an idea of like that. This is like the type of person Shawn is. So, and he goes, my friends are now your friends. And he introduced me to all of his friends and they all took me in as like one of their own. And naturally my biggest skill back then was my ability to get fucked up. So I would just, drink like crazy and they thought that was funny. Like
Frank used to always get us beers from the Red Store.
Yes.
We
yes.
would go there at night because Frank worked there.
And he looked older. He looked
Much older.
yeah.
And he would just put tons of stuff out the back. And we would walk around with Sainide special brews and
Yes,
old
yes.
D40s.
Yeah,
And
I had
Yeah.
a couple of friends like that.
Yeah.
My Greek friends,
Yeah.
fucking hair on their face from when they were 8 years old.
Yeah,
Like,
we
go
had one
buy
of
a
those.
12 pack for us.
Greeks are very
We had one of
hairy.
those.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about, though. Can a person be made like that without a tremendous amount of struggle beforehand?
Right.
Like,
How did Shawn become the person that's
That's-
willing to do that?
that's what
just
I'm saying.
doing that in high school, just taking a chance on some new kid, like that. Like most kids are like afraid of their social status. How's this going to look? Is this kid cool enough to be hanging around? He didn't think about anything. He just saw me and he goes, "That's it."
No, because I'm sure. Like it's funny because he said we had a couple of different similarities, and one of them being I have diverticulosis. Right, never knew about it, not until it was like I celebrated a year, my first year of sobriety, and it came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what it was, and I was trying to medicate myself and take Tylenol. Wound up getting a perforation in my colon.
Mm-hmm.
Going to the hospital. They wanted to cut 5 feet of my intestines out, colonoscopy bag, all that shit for like 6 months, not 3 years, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You had it for 4 years. I wound up being in the hospital for 12 days. Didn't eat or drink anything for 10. They fed me a bunch of antibiotics and stuff. I denied pain medication for the first like 7 hours. Then they finally hit me with it. I was pushing everybody away. And like whole big story about it. But it was a Sunday. I was 10 days in, and my sponsor came up and he's like, "Hey, listen, we're going downstairs to read." And I basically told him to go fuck himself because I was just pushing everybody away. And when I went downstairs, there was like 40 people there from my home group and we had a meeting. So I wound up getting something to drink down that night, ate something the next day. They let me out on the 12th day with a permanent pick in my arm. And I was on antibiotics for 30 days, pain pills, whatever. So I went through that, never wound up having to get that, but I had the perforation. I was like 105 fever, dying. So that's one thing. The other thing we have in common is like when I was younger, I was really sick from asthma and I was hospitalized. I missed so much school that they had to leave me back.
Okay.
So like it's funny because I went through a whole bunch of just self-reflection and stuff through AA and through the steps. Like you're trying to take a look at your life, right? And take a look at the whole thing, the reality of it, because there's lies we tell ourselves. And that was one of the things I realized like was one of my first insecurities where I felt different, where I'm having this talk with my mother and she's like, "Look, She's like, they want to leave you back. It was kindergarten. Like, who the fuck gets left back in kindergarten? I used to make jokes about it.
Now it happens a lot.
Oh yeah, but like, so that was like
kindergarten.
That was my first experience of like insecurity. But that's why I want to bring that up, because we do have a lot of similarities. But what happened to you at 7 was crazy. So when that first happened, what did it feel like, if you remember, at 7 years old?
It was terrible. I mean, I would always worry about going to the bathroom, having accidents. In school, all the teachers knew, and I would have to raise my hand, and I would go to the bathroom over and over and over, and everybody would be like, what is he doing? Like, why does he have these special privileges? And I was afraid to go to school, and I needed homebound tutoring, and eventually it just spiraled into this thing where I couldn't go to school anymore, and was on homebound, and eventually, my friends kind of pulled me out of it. They would come over after school and they would walk me to school. And once I got confident enough to start going back, I went back full time until I was not able to with another thing that happened, whether I got
that was
sick
at
again
12, right? Yeah. So then when you got sick at 12 and you had to have the bag, what was it like? Because it's hard enough being a kid as it is, wearing a shirt that doesn't look right and people make fun of you. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like having a fucking hair sticking out of your nose, a booger, anything, right?
Yeah.
So like now you're going back to school with this bag. That took a lot of courage.
It was tough.
That took a lot of courage. So was there anything like your parents, teachers, friends didn't know yet about that, right?
They didn't know yet about it. And, essentially what I would do is I would cut the ostomy down to like where below my belly button. So like when I wore a shirt or a bathing suit, you didn't see it, but it would start to fill up, and then I would run to the bathroom and I would empty it, and nobody would know.
It's like a secret. You had to live a secret double life.
And I was dating Janine when I had it, and
See, I knew that he was like one of my best friends back then. I had no idea.
That was a little later. That was at like 15, but she didn't know for the first like 6 months. I would just.
And you were a good actor. No, so
but eventually,
that's
I built up enough courage to tell her, and she was.
But even the
cool
courage
with it. At 6, this was like 15. I was like 15. She was like 14, or I was 16 and she was 15, or whatever it was.
Yeah, but even the courage to go to school, like when you got that initial diagnosis and you had the surgery and you had the bag, like were you like, I'm not going back to school right away, or you just didn't think anything of it?
I was out of school for so long after the recovery that there was kind of this wanting to go back, wanting to get back into it. But anytime I would get sick and hospitalized, because I was always having a few good months and then getting sick again.
Yeah.
Setbacks.
So setbacks, yeah. So or I would try a new medication, it wouldn't work. So I was kind of like on partial school. Like I would go till like noon, and then the rest of the day would be homebound tutoring. So that schedule is pretty much what I did all through high school. Teachers would come to my house and do math and science, and I would go to school for like gym and band and like, the more non-serious classes. And that's pretty much what I did all through high school.
Homeschool was good though. I did the same thing. It was different reasons. I just got in trouble too much, and they just said you can't fucking come to school anymore. So they gave me homeschool for 11th grade. But I remember like homeschool, I learned so much more.
Well, it's one-on-one. So yes, you had
I got so much smarter, like so much more knowledgeable about academic studies from homeschooling than I ever did sitting in a classroom with 30 people.
Back then, the teachers that would come, at least for me, were teachers from the high school. So I had Mr. Simidian come. I had teachers that I would have had normally. So I was learning all the same things from the same people.
One-on-one, though.
One-on-one.
Yeah.
And it was good. I mean, it worked for me. And, it gave me a lot of free time. And I spent a lot of time with my grandfather, who was a huge influence in my life. He would come every week and visit me, and he would be good to my friends and good to my family. And it was a tough time, but you get through these things, and they build you into the person that you become.
Was your grandfather the one that saw me really wasted at one of your parties?
This kid's on cloud 9.
Yeah, the cloud.
That was my other grandfather.
Oh, your other grandfather.
Freddie.
Yeah.
Yeah, he came out. He's like, this kid's on cloud 9.
Yeah, I was so wasted. I was drinking 2 beers at a time. I like literally like both beers in my mouth, nonstop, until I couldn't walk anymore. And then his grandfather comes in and goes, "This kid's on cloud 9." And we never heard that. I never heard that phrase anymore because it's from like the 1930s. Yeah. So we're like, what? What's cloud? And then it just kind of stuck.
Yeah, that's crazy. So you originally got diagnosed with the bag at 12?
So I got diagnosed with Crohn's at 7.
7? The Crohn's,
I got the bag at about
12?
between 12 and 13. And the reason that they didn't reverse it was because at that time they didn't have a procedure to reverse it for people that were as young as I was. So essentially, when I was about 16, I went to the Cleveland Clinic and I had an experimental surgery done called
I remember that.
a J pouch.
But wait, because this is what's crazy, and this is what my head's going to. So when you first get the bag, do they give you any sight of when this thing's coming out?
I
when
just
the
woke up
reverse?
with it. So
So
I
you
just,
woke up with it and you think that this is just
Like a
you
nightmare.
forever.
Well, what they said is, listen, we gave you an ileostomy, not an ostomy, which means it's not permanent. So in the future,
Okay.
if they can fix
Yeah.
this, you have the ability to fix it. We
That's
left
awesome.
your stuff in there.
Okay.
So obviously years went by and my mom did tons of research. And
But this is unknown. It's not
yeah,
like,
right,
in a year or
right.
two, you're dealing with this.
I didn't know that it was ever going to get reversed.
Exactly.
Right. Right.
But you had hope that it would because they left your insides
right,
in you.
Right.
Yeah.
I always had hope, and my mom always had hope. And once something came available, at the time when I had the J pouch surgery, I was the youngest person to ever have it.
wow.
Now they do it on babies, and it's a very common procedure now for people that have ostomies. They get a J pouch is essentially they remove all of your intestines and they leave a little bit in a J like this, and then they pull it down, and that's essentially your stomach. So like when I eat, like an hour later, I'm going to the bathroom. Like I still have the effects of the disease, but I don't have the pain. I don't have all of the things that went along with it. So for me, I'm 100% better, but I'm still not normal.
Your pipes are shorter.
My pipes are shorter and everything is
You're pooping in an hour.
Yeah.
It's gone.
but
Yeah.
not pain, not discomfort.
Right.
That's
And I do get it every once in a while, but usually it's my own fault. Like if I eat something I shouldn't that I know bothers me. But
What's against the rules for eating?
a lot of popcorn.
Popcorn's against the
Oh,
rules.
popcorn is terrible. Lots of raw vegetables, anything like that. Like most people don't want to eat processed foods, but somebody with bowel issues
Yeah.
wants to eat processed foods because they're already broken down.
It's easier
So
to
your
digest.
body doesn't have to digest it.
that
Yeah.
makes sense.
That does. That's
Damn, I
interesting.
didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so you're 12 when you get the bag. You said your friends didn't know for a little while.
So they didn't know for a little while because I was, first of all, recovering.
Yeah.
Going through lots of treatment and also just like going through this thing in my head of like, I have a fucking
Uncomfortability,
bag.
insecurity.
Like,
Yeah, normal.
And it was a really tough thing to go through emotionally, but eventually I just kind of told one friend and then told another friend and made them swear they would never tell anybody else. And in the back of my mind, whether I was in school or whether I was anywhere, it was all I would think about. What if someone sees a bulge? What if someone smells
gosh.
something? What if
That's
of course.
a
You
battle.
know?
That's what I'm saying, and that's what it's very interesting because one, I'm interested to know like where you got that hope from and that courage to be like, I'm just going to go back to school. And
my grandfather?
that's what I figured when you kept on talking about it. What was like? Do you remember some of the things he would say, or
Yes.
something that really stuck with you that like gave you that hope, that courage?
So my grandfather was a really hard worker. Grew up with nothing. Had 4 boys and always just taught me to do the best I can at anything I can do. Always put 100% into everything. Everybody kind of wrote me off. Shawn's got medical problems. He's not going to go to a good school. He's not going to do anything with himself. And he always had faith in me. And it always drove me to want to impress him, want to do what he wanted. He was just a straight arrow violin player, World War II vet.
Oh, that's
And,
awesome.
One of those guys who, like him and his brother, I'll tell you a quick story. They would always tell this story. They had, Purple Hearts and all these awards from World War II. And they would have them on the walls in the house. And they had a Japanese sword. And he would say, Grandpa, what are those awards from? Oh, well, me and Uncle Arthur, we were cooking in the cookhouse where we cooked for the soldiers. And a bomb fell nearby and a can of beans fell off the top and landed on my head. And that's how I got the award. And I was like, oh, okay. But years later, I found out that a tank got hit and 5 guys were burning alive.
Oh my
and they
gosh.
went into the tank and pulled all 5 guys out.
And he did.
And-
That's
That's
fucking
integrity.
dope,
And he did
right?
not say
Brett,
shit.
dude, if I did that, I would tell everyone I knew.
Of course,
Yeah,
but that's
of course.
the difference. That's
That's the difference. You don't have integrity, you
Well,
piece of shit.
no, it's just guys that do stuff like that are those
They
type of
didn't want-
guys.
they
Like,
did
a
not-
can of beans
right.
fell on my head.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
They didn't want to burden people with the things that they went through.
Right.
This was something I went through.
Just different kind of men.
They're not built like that anymore.
I love
No.
the idea of American soldiers in World War II, especially.
I'm fascinated by it.
But especially Jews, going out there fucking killing Nazis.
Like the bear Jew.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I love that shit.
But that I figured you were going to say your grandfather. And it's funny because one of the gyms I used to work at before the one I'm working at now, they had coach on the back and they had a little saying and it said, a coach, someone who believes in you so unconditionally that you're forced to believe in yourself. And that sounds exactly
Yes,
like
yes.
he never lost faith. He never lost his belief in you. And that became contagious.
Right,
After a while, if somebody that you love and look up to so much, believing in you so much, you're like, if I love and respect this man so much, and he loves and respects me so, like, there's got to be something there, right? I'm not dead to
He
rights.
saw something in me that I guess nobody else saw.
Is he still around?
No, he passed probably like 10 or 15 years ago.
So,
And wow, I never had.
He met
grandfathers.
Lisa. He met my wife. He loved her. He was just, the most, like, I was in Florida coming back from school. Actually, it was 2004, and I was driving back, and I get the call. Grandpa's really sick. Like, he's gonna go any minute, and he waited till I got back from driving from Florida to New Jersey.
Guy waits to die.
I went.
just
No,
to
no,
make sure,
no, no.
like,
This
that's
is
crazy.
I got into his house. I touched his hand and he squeezed it, but they said he hadn't moved or done anything. He squeezed my hand. I said, "I'm here, Grandpa. I love you." And I stayed there for a couple hours, and then I went to my parents' house, and he died that night.
yeah, that's
He's
crazy.
like, I'm not going.
And
until I
they
say
all said
goodbye,
like
Shawn.
he waited for you to come back. Like I literally was driving back from
That's
Florida.
tough. That's
He was in
tough,
hospice.
dude,
He was in
man.
his hospice in his house. Like
That's great. They don't make them like that. I don't.
They
think
don't make 'em-
Dude, when we're old, like when our kids are old, I don't have kids, but my nephew, your kids, or whatever. When they're like, I don't know if they're gonna have the grandparents like that,
Right,
like we had. Like I never had grandfathers; they died when I was young. But the stories I hear from other people's grandfathers, like they're just tough, like World War II vets.
Yep.
Like these people were just,
and they were
tough.
older. Like he was in
people.
it. He was in the Philharmonic. He played the violin. So every Thursday for my entire childhood, he would drive from New Jersey like 3 hours to my house. So and he would come. He would spend the day with me. We would do gardening. He would do gardening with me, planting flowers. He loved all that stuff. And then he would take me, my whole family out to dinner.
Yeah.
And then he would go play in the Philharmonic. But he was doing this all the way up until his 90s, like driving 3 hours from New Jersey by
Right.
himself to just come out and spend time with his family. And he remarried. So it wasn't like he was coming, they looked at like he was coming to visit his old
Yeah.
family. But to him, it was his family.
Right?
Yeah.
And it just
Did
meant
he-
so much.
Did
to me.
he? Was
So
he
it's
around
like a
for the
selfless man?
Yeah.
Was he around for the whole like what we have right now, which I call the smartphone generation?
No.
He missed
Thank
that.
God.
Thank
Good for
God.
him.
He got out at the right time.
Yeah.
See, I don't think that
He-
the next generation is going to have these grandparents, these tough, multi-talented like men to like look back.
Well,
upon,
that generation poured all of its energy and love into the next generation. And I think a lot about the boomer generation is they're more into doing what they want, what they like.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I said he sounded like a
Yeah.
very selfless man.
He was.
Yeah.
Which is not, I mean, just selfless people important. That's what we work so hard.
Everything I do,
Yeah.
even to this
Selfish,
day, everything I do, I say, what would he think? What would he want me to do? What would he feel? Every decision I make, everything I do,
Yeah, and the
I
beau-
still think like that.
Yeah, and it's hard not to when somebody has such a strong impact on you like that. And like I said, his belief in you was almost contagious. Like I'm sure it didn't happen right away, but then you start to get this belief in yourself. And he got to see your journey. He got to witness like your journey actually coming out of this.
He got to see me get better.
Yeah.
He got to see me go to college, which didn't last too long, but he got to see
Where'd you
me
go? University of Hartford.
So first I went to University of Hartford.
yeah, that's like the biggest party school.
I
Just go
lasted-
there to
yeah.
fucking just hang out. and party.
I went there. I opened up a club, and
I remember that.
What was the club?
my
it was called Velocity.
Oh, that's so because I
He
used
was like
to.
Yeah.
AJ Soprano.
I know. I
opening up a
used to
club.
bartend at a club called Moore in Connecticut. So that's
Okay.
why I asked. I was like, I wonder
my
if it was the
God.
same
Yeah, I
one.
lasted there. I think 6 weeks.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
Sounds like a.
But it was a
Yeah.
good 6 weeks.
It
was, it
That's
was.
what
Long
led that
6
place
weeks.
dry.
Yeah.
They lost so much money.
Yeah,
I'm
well, look,
assuming.
my friends from Long Island were coming up every single weekend, so
Yeah,
it wasn't long until they were like, "No, this guy's."
No,
Yeah.
yeah.
I remember going up there and just like everything was free. I'm like,
Yeah.
how does this place make money? And Sean's like, don't worry, man, we're doing great. It's a long game.
That's so funny. But I do want to get back to because the struggle is important and then getting out of it. But I think it's very interesting. Like the first friend that you told, right? Like I said, like I just put
That was Jesse
myself
Frank.
in
Frank,
your
yeah.
position because my father and brother got locked up when I was 11. And a lot of my friends didn't know until high school. So I held on to that because I was insecure.
Yeah, and that's a lot to hold on to too.
Yeah, I was insecure about it. So, and that's like nothing in my eyes. So, what you're going through personally. So, the fact that you had the courage to tell that one person, what was it about? Who was it, Jesse?
Frank.
Frank.
Who was it? What was it about that time, that person that you're like, I got to get this off my chest?
So Frank, when I moved to New York, I moved into the house my dad grew up in from Florida, and Frank lived down the block. And he was always my best friend. Him and John, who lived across the street, but John was a year younger. But Frank, Frank was the kind of guy who
Frank, this
did
kid,
what he said.
He was a man of integrity, or a boy
Still
of
is,
integrity.
yeah.
He was a kid of
Yeah.
integrity,
But looked like a man.
Yeah, he looked like a man. He had wisdom.
Italian, yeah.
He was one of those kids.
Same thing, yeah.
He was one of those kids that like he was like wise.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was like academically smart or like any of that crap.
He was more
but
mature,
He was just wise.
Wise.
Like when we had questions about like life,
Anything.
we would go to
60-year-old man
Yeah.
trapped in a boy's body.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, Frank was the first person I told. You know, he knew so much about my story already because he was my best friend. He lived down the block. He, you know, actually one funny story. When I was little, and the first time I was hospitalized, he showed up in the hospital wearing a bumblebee costume. Can you imagine it?
That sounds about like
Yeah.
Frank. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
He was like this big tough guy, you
Yeah.
know, and he showed up in a bumblebee
Yeah.
costume.
and this is a kid. How old is he?
I mean, well, when I first told him, we were probably 16, but he was always smart.
He was 16 going on 40.
Yeah, he had the full beard when we were like 13.
Yeah,
Right, it
You
was
know, he
insane,
was
yeah.
much bigger than everybody else and had like a very big presence to him.
Yeah.
And he's been the same. He hasn't changed, right?
No,
Yeah,
he's
no,
still
I
the
figured
same.
that. So,
Yeah.
all right. So you're with Frank, and like, just give me an idea of the scene and like what you're going through and what made you just blurt it out. Was it like a slow conversation, or was it just like, hey, like,
You
this
know,
is what
it
I'm
was
dealing with?
it was like dominoes. You know, you tell the first person, and then you start to feel more comfortable when they're like, "Listen, this is not."
But it
a
feels
big
good
deal.
to tell
It
someone.
felt,
too.
it felt so
the
good.
weight that must have been lifted off your
It
back
was-
holding this
It was
secret for
huge.
so long.
You know, look at that age. You know, everything is such a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember showing it to him, and he was just like, "What's that? A shit bag?" Like, you know,
Dude,
what I mean? Like,
that sounds about
that's so
like
awesome.
you know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, this is an ostomy, dude. And he just like
so
played it
what?
off like nothing.
That's right.
And I was like, please don't ever tell me. He's like, you know, I'm never going to fucking
Yeah.
tell anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll always make sure you're okay. And he always did.
Like I said, I'm just so fascinated about it because we all like to talk shit about human beings and what dicks people are. And at the end of the day, though, that energy is how we survive and get through things. Other people, we can't do it alone. So, like the fact that you had the spirit of your grandfather there, planting seeds of belief and courage, and then your friends, and then the nonchalantness, like we talk about it in AA, for example, like that step 5 experience where you finally tell someone the truth, the things that you've been hiding because you felt so shameful of and regretful and guilty of. And they're like, yeah, so what? Like that.
It's
That's strange.
It's
Oh
just
my
a
God.
weight
That's like,
lifted
oh
off.
my God, I'm
Yeah.
not a piece of shit scumbag. I'm not alone. I'm not defective. I'm not a defect. I thought I was a defective human being.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, I used to question why this happened to me.
That's right.
You know, why am I
why?
sick? Why did this happen? Like, why am I being punished?
Yeah.
Right.
And, you know, eventually I turned it into a strength. You know, I used everything I went through. It shaped who I was, the way I saw the world, the way I saw people. You know, it just made me stronger. You know, in some ways it made me harder also, you know, and not as empathetic maybe as I should be. But at the same time, you know, when you go through a lot, it's hard for you to be empathetic about things that maybe
Yeah, when
aren't
someone
as
complains
serious.
about like, you know, bullshit, you're like, yeah, fuck you. You know, I had a fucking colostomy bag on when I was fucking 9 years old.
Yeah.
You dipshit.
So, Frank, you're getting there, right? You're getting more comfortable. You're telling more people. Now you got your confidence. You're playing sports. You're doing things, but you still have an unknown of when this thing's going to get reversed, if it's going to get reversed.
Right.
But your perspective and mentality changed, and you started to have a better life because of it.
Correct,
right?
correct.
So, can you walk me through like what it was like when you got the call? Hey, we could reverse this thing. Like, how'd that lead to? Like, what led to that?
Essentially, my mom was trying everything, calling everyone all over the world.
And sorry to interrupt, but are you like with her on this journey? Not that you gave up, but you just kind of living your life.
Oh, no,
and
no.
she's
I
doing
was,
it?
every time that she had something that could make my life better, I tried it. Whether it was her baking breads at home or coming up with all these weird holistic foods back then, you know, and I would try it all and do it all. And none of it worked. But eventually,
You gotta try it to know if it doesn't
yes,
work.
Yes,
Yeah.
I tried it all. But eventually what ended up happening is she found out about a doctor named Dr. Victor Fazio out of the Cleveland Clinic who was doing an experimental surgery where he was building literally a new, the J pouch it was called, building this new intestine that they would make out of what was ever left of your ileum. So
This was experimental at the time.
experimental, yeah.
Right.
I was really young for the surgery. I think I was 16. No one, they never did it on anybody that young. My Crohn's at the time was Crohn's ulcerative colitis undetermined. So essentially, lots of these surgeries, they won't do if they know you have Crohn's because Crohn's spreads. So they don't want to do a surgery and then have it spread to the J pouch. So because they put it as I was undetermined, even though I had Crohn's, I was able to go forward into this experimental program. Because they were looking to do it on younger people. I was a candidate. I was willing to do it. My parents were willing to do it. And I was willing to take the risk to get it reversed.
Well, there's a risk-reward ratio.
Well, I could have ended up with a permanent ostomy and losing everything.
That's a big risk.
That's a risk.
That's a big risk. And what year is this? I'm sorry.
This, probably 98.
Yeah, so you're
this
also
is
thinking
15 years
2010, they'll probably
My 16.
That's a big risk.
98. A year before, probably junior year.
Okay.
Maybe the summer before that, right?
Okay.
It was right around that time. So essentially, I get approved for the program. I fly out to Cleveland, and they put me up in the Ronald McDonald House, which is where all the sick kids went and stayed who were having these surgeries. So I lived there for, I don't know, a couple months. They would do testing and do everything, and then I went home.
That's
and
scary enough right there.
It
right?
was, but
Yeah, Ronald McDonald was a pervert. Sorry.
he may have been, but I'm going to say this: the Ronald McDonald House for a sick kid is one of the greatest places because you're surrounded by kids who are so much sicker than you. Kids with cancer, kids with leukemia, kids with rare diseases. And I felt like, wow, I am so lucky.
Crazy.
You know, seeing kids that were there one week that were not alive the next week, you know, that were there for things much worse than I was dealing with.
That's crazy.
And that made me realize, you know, yes, it sucks what I'm going through, but I'm also really, really lucky, you know, and just experiencing that, it gave me a perspective of, you know, that I was blessed, even though maybe to other people I wasn't. So, you know, I was staying at Ronald McDonald House and I got first they built the pouch. So I went in for the surgery and I recovered at Ronald McDonald House and then I went home. But you don't get it reversed right away. They build the pouch and then you leave for 6 months. And then you come back and then they remove the ostomy and reconnect the J pouch.
And you don't know if it's going to...
You don't know if it's going to work.
Yeah, you're doing it in the hopes that
Right,
it's going to work,
right.
but there's no guarantee.
There's no guarantee. After that, I went back for the reversal and I had the reversal done. And, you know, it was all very painful because back then they didn't do laparoscopic. They literally cut you from here all the way down.
Yeah, he was pointing to his chest.
Yes,
all
exactly. All the way down to right above your...
slicing you open.
Right down your midline.
Yeah, oh yeah. You know, and you wake up and you have drains in every single part of your body. It's, you know, and even one going, you know, up your bottom, because obviously once everything gets reconnected, they have to drain it while you can't do anything. So waking up from that was really painful, really traumatic. But, you know, every week that went by in the recovery, a different tube would be removed and, you know, and you start to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And, you know, after about a month after the reversal, I was basically able to go home.
Without the bag.
Without the bag.
Yeah.
After the second time going back, without the bag. And when I got home, I just was, you know, I felt like a new person. You know, was it normal? No. But I was all of a sudden not. I was going to the bathroom like a normal person.
And
Yeah,
you
you
lived
didn't
through
have
the
a bag.
and you lived through the Ronald
Lived-
McDonald
yes,
House, which
lived through the Ronald McDonald
completely
House.
had a huge influence on you because you were the old cliche of you know, I used to cry because I had no shoes until I saw the man with no feet.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like that. You lived through that.
Well, that's why you could find gratitude.
Yeah.
You can find it if you're looking
Oh
for
yeah.
it. in anything.
Oh yeah. You know, and then for years I just felt so lucky. You know, I felt so blessed to have been through so much and then to have gotten better. And even though I was not normal, for me it was normal and it was better and it was no more pain, no more.
Yeah.
Yeah. it
There
was
is
my
no
normal.
real
And
normal.
your support system and your mom.
Right.
Just fucking unconditional. I'm getting chills just saying. Unconditional
Yep.
love. Like you want to talk
She
about.
went to the ends of the earth.
But that's
to
what I'm
find
saying.
what
You
she
want to
could
talk
find.
about, like,
Yeah.
you
That's
hear
the
these
mother.
professional
That's
athletes
it,
being
yeah.
like, I'm a dog. No, bitch. That's a dog. Like,
Yeah.
fucking not, you can't tell this woman no.
Right.
Right.
I'm hitting every fucking possible thing I can on the computer on this.
Yeah.
I'm going, if there is a possible solution to my son getting better, I'm going to fucking find
Well, do you
it.
know how many times?
That's a
Do you know how
savage.
many times she
Yeah.
was told? Listen, just get the permanent. Like this
Yeah,
kid's
yeah,
never
yeah.
gonna poop
And she
normal
did not
again.
accept that.
No,
She's like,
she never
fuck
did.
that.
She never did. And
Yeah.
even when I first perforated and they gave me the ostomy, they were trying to give me a permanent one, and she fought to get me an ileostomy, so I would at least have a chance in the future.
Dude.
Did you tell
What
your
was-
mom you love her today?
Yeah, she knows I love
All right,
her.
you better
She
tell
knows
her
I love
every
her. She
fucking
knows.
day.
So even going through the Ronald McDonald House and the surgeries, that like, was there ever a point, like you were there for a month and then another 2 months, like, was there ever a point where you're like, fuck, I wish I wouldn't have done this. I should have just stood with the bag. Like, was it, or it was always like
I was at the
hopeful, like-
age. I was at the age where it was like, if there's any chance I can get rid of this thing,
that's
I'm
awesome.
going to try or do anything.
Take the
You know,
chance.
it was, you know, at that point in my life, it was the only thing that I wanted to get rid of. You know, it was like all I wanted to do was get rid of this bag, because at that age, now if I got it, like there's always a chance that my J pouch can fail and I could end up with an ostomy again. And they told me at the time, like, hey, listen, no one's ever had one of these for longer than a couple of years because they only did it on older people. But now, like I'm going on like over 30 years of
Oh, God bless.
almost,
And you still have
almost like 27 years of having
But you have to be careful. Is it still,
At any time it could fail.
Completely out of the woods. You have to,
you have to
eat
watch
right.
your diet.
but
and
at
stuff like that.
43,
No popcorn.
At 43, I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
I got the years I needed to not have it. I didn't have it.
That's
So let
right.
me ask you a
right.
question. I just is something that I was just thinking about that we're going to go back a little bit. So you were surrounded by all these like amazing friends, and these are lifelong friends. And when I moved to the town, I don't understand why you would bring me into that.
Great question.
Like
Great question.
what was going through your head when you're like, I'm going to bring this new kid that like is going to not help me at all to be more popular. You benefited nothing. There was nothing that you were going to gain from. Like in high school, it's always about like how can I gain something.
I saw you and you looked like a fish out of water. Like you didn't know anybody, and I felt like that person before. And I didn't want someone else to feel like that, and
Right.
I had the ability at the time to change that for you.
Right. That's and then
it was just so great because after you met everyone, you knew Russ, who was my best friend also,
I know
so it
Russ
was
for
like
years,
you just fit right
Fucking
into the
Jew
group.
camp.
Look, we were a group of misfits.
Yeah.
Like that's what we were. We were all weird or different in our own way. And we all came together and created this great group of friends.
We were a pretty awesome. Like,
anybody
we were
would back
pretty-
anyone up at any time.
I don't mean to toot my horn here, but we were pretty popular there, Joe. Yeah, we kind of ran that school.
You're a
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
dirty fish. What are you
Well,
talking about?
listen, I was just happy to be along for the ride, but that group
Fresh
was
fish on the
pretty
line,
popular.
bitch. Nothing like that. Remember that from Friday After
Of
That?
course.
Fresh fish on the line. What's up, OG? Triple OG, you good? He's like, fresh fish on the line, bitch. Ain't nothing like that.
Yes, yes, technically.
So,
But I lost my virginity hanging out with these dudes with some random Colombian whore in the back seat of Eric's car.
I thought you were going to finally admit you're gay. I lost my virginity
it.
with a bunch of these dudes.
Stop it.
So, what was that when you came home from that surgery, though? And like your mom was there with you in Cleveland? Was she home?
She was there
you,
with me the whole
obviously.
time, yeah.
So, like when you came out of this surgery and the doctor said it was a success, what? I'm getting chills again. This is the third time I'm getting chills. Did she just lose it? Was she like?
So she was obviously overly cautious about everything.
Yeah.
Because yes,
Like, hope
the
for the
surgery
best, expect
worked.
the worst.
Yeah,
type of
the
thing,
surgery worked, but they were very much like, hey, listen, this kid has Crohn's. Like we know it, even though we said it was
Right.
indeterminate. Like
Yeah.
in 3 months, we might not have gotten it all, and it could spread to his J pouch, and the whole story could be over. And I was having at the time,
Your body could reject the
your body could
yeah.
reject it. I was having pain, and when you don't use a part of your body for years, and then you start using it again, there's lots of pain, there's lots of discomfort, and that was really hard to deal with in the beginning. But eventually, it did work out, and she was with me, whether it was at the doctor's appointments every week or getting the blood tests every week or whatever it was. She was there taking me to the health food stores, anything. She was always making sure that I had what I needed and that I was taken care of. She always looked out for me.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
I
Oh
mean,
my God.
I
She was
bump
tough.
into her every now and then in like
Yeah.
the supermarket and stuff. Yeah, in high school she was really cool. Your mom and your dad were always like really cool. It's always like
Fun
come
era.
over after school. We all went to Shawn's house, like hung out, ate
Every
all
week,
of their food. Like I would clean out their refrigerator of like we all would, and they would. The next day we'd come there, the fridge would be restocked. Everything would be restocked. Yeah.
I mean, look, they loved that their child who was sick had all these great friends who were so interested in
God.
being there for him and looking out for him. And I got a lot out of all my friends also. It was a two-way street.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I want to ask you because you spoke a lot about your mother. What was your father's role in all this while this was going on?
My dad was working a lot, but he was also, anytime something big was happening, he was always there. he was actually, he would hang out with me and my friends a lot.
Yeah, he was cool.
He was a great guy, a fun guy.
Interesting, dude. He used to make his own sushi.
Made his own sushi. He still does.
What kind of Jew makes their own sushi?
Like he would take all
The best kind.
Yeah, he would take all of us fishing. And he would catch a fish and he'd come in and he'd throw it on the ground at countertop and he'd start slicing it. My mother would be so upset. He was like the kind of, he would take his hands and he'd put it on the fridge and he'd put it on the doors, and the whole house would smell like fish.
Yeah,
and then he would
bloody
whip out his seaweed and he'd do his rice and he'd roll up the sushi and all of my friends would be like, "You guys want some sushi?" And give everybody sushi. And if it wasn't sushi, it was clams or it was crab.
Yeah. So all right. So 16, you get the surgery, right? Not without the hardships, like you said, because you were still going through that. Now, through all that time, do you remember any, because obviously I know you had a lot of good friends, your grandfather, you had your mom too, and just high hopes and a good mentality, but through that we have our dark spots, right? Do you remember like any of the darkest moments where like you started to question God, the process, the journey, what you were doing?
I mean, the whole time I was questioning God, like, why is this happening to me? What is this happening? But, eventually I just started getting, especially as I got older and I was able to get a girlfriend and I had friends and I was popular and I was going out to clubs and I was on the basketball team. I started just to change and just start to realize like, I can do this. Like I can go out there, I can have fun, I can be normal. For me, it was, I always wanted to feel normal. When I went to a place, the first, most people go to a place and they don't have to think about where the bathroom is. Like me, anywhere I went, the first thing I spotted out, where's the bathroom, right? Is the bathroom clean? And even if it wasn't, I would make it clean, and those are the things that I worried about. I didn't worry about the girls too much. I didn't worry about, anything else. It was just, am I going to have a place to go to the bathroom? Like my worst fear was having an accident in front of people or, because those were the things I was dealing with after the ostomy, but then eventually you get to a point where, you poop your pants, it's funny. It's not like something that
pooping your pants is funny.
When you're older, like, it happens around your bunch of friends. It's like, it is what it is,
Oh yeah. My brothers tell stories like that all the time, being drunk and shit in their pants, and they laugh about it for years.
Sometimes you
or
let
like
out
a friend,
fart and,
or a friend,
funny.
or you guys go out to sushi or Chinese and someone gets bad sushi and shits their pants in the car on the way home. Stuff like it becomes more normal, But when you're 16 and 17 and
you're like a leper.
Magnified.
So for me, is like as I got older, I was just able to just feel like these things are normal for me.
Just own it.
It is what it is. I don't care.
You just took ownership of it. That's what it is.
So Joe asked an interesting question. So you kept doubting God, right? You're like, why me? Why me? Like,
I was brought up in a Jewish home. I believed in God. I had a bar mitzvah. I always felt that there was a reason for things, and I still to this day believe everything happens for a reason, and back then I didn't see the reason. I wouldn't know what the outcome was going to be, even when I was in my 20s, like I was lost. I didn't know what I was going to do for work. I dropped out of college. I was lost. And, and actually in Florida with Russell, I was hanging out with him. We were living together. And
Miami,
one day,
right?
Miami, I started getting pains in my stomach. And at the time, it was really bad. It got worse. And Russell's like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. I think I have a blockage. So he called an ambulance for me. And at that time, it was during the opioid crisis. And they didn't believe that I had stomach problems.
Yeah.
And Russell was like, listen, you motherfuckers, this kid has Crohn's. He's had all these surgeries. Get him to the hospital. And finally, they took me to the hospital. I had a blockage. I had to have another surgery, a resection. This was with my J pouch.
They thought you were pill seeking.
Yeah. But, that essentially was another time that I was doubted for it. But
so Russell took care of business.
Not only did he take care of business, but he literally saved my life.
That's amazing.
Because they weren't admitting me. Like they just didn't believe that I had medical problems.
Right.
Yeah. Meanwhile, they started the fucking crisis in the first place to check off.
And then, and then after the surgery, I had to recover down in Florida. It took like a couple months. And that's when I essentially moved home and started working. Was after that, I got a phone call from my dad and he was like, I'm closing my business. I'm done. And at the time he had like a little flower girl company. And he's like, do you want to come home and do this? And I was like, I had no options. I was done with school. I just had surgery. If I went back to school, I had to re-enroll, do everything over. And I said, you know what? I'll give it a shot. Went back to New York. And
when was your last surgery?
This one was like...
Oh, no, he's pointing at his shoulder.
My last Crohn's surgery was the one with Russell. So
Wow.
20 years old.
2000, yeah, 21, around 21.
Miami.
So now with all this time that has passed, and you're able to like talk about these horrors that you lived through, right? But now you have you're looking at it from a different perspective. Like they were horrors in the moment,
Right.
but they made me the man that I am today,
Oh,
and the
yeah.
father that I am today, and the husband that I am today. And do you now look at that and say, wow, God had a plan this whole time.
Yeah,
I just
I
couldn't
mean,
see it in the moment.
That summer that I came back, I met my wife, and so she
When you came back from New York after the
when
Rust
everything
thing
was
in
done,
Florida.
I was at a party at Danny's house, and his friend was there, and this girl was there, and her friends were all there, and Lisa was there, and Perone comes up to me and he's like, "Yo, we got this hot Jew broad for you." And I was
Perone
like,
said that?
Perone,
Yeah, it
we
sounds
got this
about
hot
right.
Jew broad for you. You got to meet her.
Leave it to the Gindaloon.
Italians, man.
Like he knew, and I met her, and it just clicked, and that was back in 2002 or right around that time.
That's crazy. And you've been with her ever since?
Ever since, yeah.
Yo, that's nuts.
Yeah.
And now you got 3 kids.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is that she met me like literally right after my last surgery, and I never was really sick with surgeries or anything ever since.
That's great.
It's you meet someone at a time, and it's like you're young, and you have to make a decision. You know, at that time, like I met her, and I was like, this is definitely it. Like, and I knew
You knew right away.
I knew right away.
Yeah.
I knew right away. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's awesome. I love hearing stories about. That's why I love doing this podcast. It's just unbelievable. You keep on hearing different stories. Like we've talked to a lot of addicts and alcoholics because that's who we know. But that's not. We're not trying for the show to just be addicts and alcoholics.
Yes.
Everybody goes through struggles. We're human beings. Everyone's going through some, whether you see it or not, because you want to see what they project on Facebook and Instagram.
Yes.
Everybody's got something that's going on. What I think is so beautiful about your story is there was multiple struggles and then multiple people along the way, whether it was your grandfather, your friends lifting you up, giving you hope, you staying courageous, hopeful, your mother, you felt like everyone playing a role in how this thing developed. And just even that, like finding your path. Obviously, you get through a struggle like that, and then you think everything's going to be fine. But like you said, college didn't work out. Now you're trying to find yourself. You're like, I went through. God didn't take me this far just to take me this far, right? What's next?
Right,
What's next?
right.
And you don't know. But having a little faith, yeah, I'll try that. And then all of a sudden, it turns into a career, and then it turns into a career that you want to be creative and take somewhere else. And it's just, and now look at where you are now.
So let me ask you a question. Throughout all this time, right? Like you now in hindsight, God was with you, and like God's with you right now. Of
course,
right?
yeah.
So if you had to pick like a philosophy that you live by, like what would be Shawn's philosophy? that
What
he
doesn't
lives by?
kill you makes you stronger.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's-
See,
that's
these are
my
cliches there, but they weren't always
but it's-
cliches.
No.
They were at one time. Someone said it for the first time. They became cliches because they're fucking true.
And I
exactly.
also
That's
believe
right.
that everything happens for a reason.
Right.
You know, every obstacle that's put in front of you in your life is put there for a reason.
An opportunity, really.
It's an opportunity for you to overcome it and grow from it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how anytime something bad happens to me, like I told you, I broke 5 ribs at my collarbone.
So this
in
is
December.
recently
This
you
is
broke
recent,
5 ribs.
yes.
Now, real quick, because we got to wrap the show up eventually, but tell us a story about how you broke 5 ribs in your collarbone.
At how old?
Yeah, 43.
Yeah, there you go.
now.
Yeah.
Now, so long story short, my son called home sick one day from school. And my wife was like, hey, listen, why don't you take him for a little scooter ride? I'm like, okay, we'll go for a scooter ride.
A little.
Take him for a scooter ride. And I go to grab the electric scooter, which I usually run with the dog, and the battery was dead. So I looked over and I saw the skateboard. I said, oh, you know what? I'm just going to use the skateboard. So my puppy, who was like 75 pounds and like 8 months old, I took the leash and the skateboard. Yeah. and my son is going down the block and the dog is pulling me. And it's like the greatest
your
feeling
son.
ever.
Yeah.
How old was the dog?
He was like 8 months.
So a puppy.
what
Like,
kind of
basically
puppy?
a retarded
What kind of
version
dog?
of a dog.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
but a
saying.
big puppy.
That's what I said.
And
Yeah.
in my mind, I'm like, this is amazing. I'm going to teach him how to pull a sled.
Ah,
So
genius.
when the winter comes, he'll pull
Did
the
you say
kids.
mush?
Yeah. So he's pulling me, and we go down to the park by the water, and there's a circular path, and my son is on the circular path, and the dog is going around pulling me for
Puppy.
puppy
Yeah.
for like 30 minutes. And honestly, the whole time it was happening, I was in my glory.
Of course.
It
Jet
was
ski
amazing.
Shawn.
It was
Jet ski
amazing.
Shawn's being
Reliving-
pulled by a puppy.
It was amazing. Then all of a sudden, the dog decided to go the other direction. So I was
he's
going.
retarded.
Because he probably saw a squirrel or something. Because
Yeah.
it's a puppy.
So I'm going in a circle, and he all of a sudden goes to the right.
Yeah.
And he pulls me off the skateboard at full speed down into a concrete parking lot where I hit. And, you know, I don't know if you ever had a traumatic accident or anything like that happen, but your brain shakes and you kind of like don't know where you are for a second. And that's what happened. And I came up and I felt like a bone sticking out of my chest. And I didn't even know my ribs are broken. And my son's like, Dad, are you okay? And I'm like, Levi, I'm not okay. You know, I need you to help me and call 911. And my 5-year-old son called 911, got the ambulance there. They came, they rushed me to St. Joseph's Trauma Center. They did all the tests. They found out I had 5 broken ribs and they rushed me over to a Trauma 1 center. But
at this point, this like you going to the hospital and getting surgery, this is like old hat to
you.
Yeah. You're like, all right, let's go. Just let me know when you're done. Let's
I
get
was
this over
talking to
with.
the woman in the ambulance like nothing happened,
Right.
you know? And there I am like with the bone sticking out of my neck.
Right. What doesn't kill you makes you strong.
Right. You know, and I ended up a month later, I waited a month, I ended up having titanium plates put in my collarbone and
you're a
that.
lefty.
Sick.
That's,
I was out
That's
of
your left side?
Yeah, it was rough. It was rough.
Yeah, it's just a great story. And how many kids do you have?
3.
And how old are they?
8, 6, and 3.
Boys and girls?
2 boys are the older ones, and my daughter is 3.
And that's what I'm talking. It's like compounding interest, right? Like, look at all the stuff your grandfather went through and what he instilled in you, and all the stuff you went through, and what you're going to instill in your kids, and that kind of attitude, and that struggle is okay, and you're going to come out on the other end and never be defeated, never stay down. Always keep fighting. Like, that's what we need more of. We need more people. One, sharing stories like yours, and also people that have been through struggle and can recognize that and help other people through struggle, because your whole story is based on other people coming together and you guys going through it as a unit, not alone.
That's right.
And that's all we're trying to
And
get
look,
to
if
here.
I didn't have that support system, my story probably would have been much different.
Absolutely. And so many people out there don't have that support system. That's why we got to like sometimes get out of our shell when we see something, because it happens to me sometimes too. Like I want to help somebody and then like I feel awkward like putting myself out there. And it's like, got to get over that, because what's the worst that could happen? They say, no, I'm good.
Right.
It's like, maybe there's that one person that's like, yeah, could you help me? You know, so it's just beautiful. And then at the end of the day, just recently, your son got to help you.
Yeah, that's
Like,
right. That's right.
911.
And he was so cool about it. And that's what I didn't understand. Like, he saw me there and he just said, okay, I dialed 911, and he told them where we were. And
well, they feed off kids. Feed
5
off
years
frequency,
old.
like your frequency that you've been giving him.
He was so
his whole
calm.
life. He absorbed, and now he emits that same frequency.
That's what I'm saying. It's contagious from your grandfather to you, to them, and it's a beautiful thing, man. You got a great story. I mean, this has been such a pleasure. I wish I could talk to you for another 5 hours. So,
and your mom should win a fucking award.
My God.
Yes,
all right.
yes.
What a
love you, Mom.
Yes.
What a badass dude. That it's
And your
just
dad
awesome.
too.
And my
He's
dad,
awesome.
my dad is the best too. Fun Ira.
Yeah,
Fun
Ira. Yeah, we used to call him Fun Ira because he was just like one of us. He was like 30 or 40 years older than us, but like when we were hanging out, he was able to like get to our level and just hang out with us.
I don't know if he ever left our level.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Of course, thanks for having me, guys.
Hopefully, we'll have you back with Russ, and we'll just have a little.
That'd be great. That'd be awesome.
Fun day.
You're more than welcome. Like anytime we
absolutely.
record, you want to stop by and hang out,
I would
you're
love
more than
it.
welcome.
I would
My
love
pleasure, man. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Later, bro.